I'm on YouTube, so from this point.
All right, I'm sharing and I've got the housekeeping page up already.
Okay, sweet.
Interacting. Mute so it doesn't duplicate the audio.
Okay.
And then if you go back to Zoom. Oh, it's okay. So to start letting people in. All right. Glad he's here early. I was thinking about sending out a webinar starts not this time, but 30 minutes. 10 minutes. But I think the 1 day reminder was good enough. That's a good display. I like that version.
Over the shoulder view?
Yeah, I like it.
Okay. Because I can't see what it looks like. I'll just have to trust you.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, of course they can read what's on the screen, but you're mostly talking to everything, so.
My head's blocking content. Is that what you're saying?
Just like this tiniest little smidge in the bottom, like where it says confidential, like right before confidential, that's the portion I can't see.
Okay, so if I point this way, point.
No, other way.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
All right.
Now you're touching engagement and conversation.
Just a heads up, if anyone tunes in on YouTube, they can hear, I think, this conversation.
Yeah, they're getting that. They're getting the outtakes. The outtakes. We're professional here.
The bloopers. All right, this is gonna be good. Shout out to Jeff. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think you can even message so that I used to own a chat. I think you can message the leader. And you can say, thanks so much. We'll be open to Zoom in about 5 minutes.
Okay. We should get you a green screen.
All right.
So you can do like the chroma key thing and just blend right in. No borders.
I know that'd be good. I try to wear black this time, so it helps blend in a little bit.
I wanted to say something, but then I remembered. Oh, thanks. I'll start talking about my nails.
Once James starts, we can meet the room.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I just don't get involved. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So glad you're here.
We have two folks in the waiting room. James, you let us know when you like want us, what, about 4 minutes, 3 minutes? So let us know when you want us to start letting people in.
I think I'm good now. It's 3 minutes still, as far as I can see. We can let them in,
Okay.
and we'll probably repeat the housekeeping notes.
Cool. Sounds good. When I'll let you drive.
Let's go.
Oh, 3.
All right,
Three in the waiting room. Look at there.
all right, we're going live.
All right, let's do it live. All right, are we live, guys?
Yep, looking good.
All right, so we're just a few minutes out from our 12 o'clock starting time. I'll probably repeat this, but a little bit of housekeeping. And please, if you don't mind, put your microphones on mute. You can turn off your cameras and feel free to record this presentation. Also, we're live streaming this on YouTube. So we would like for you to go over there and like and subscribe and click all those buttons that you're supposed to click on YouTube for us. So we're going to, if you're on Zoom, use the raise hand feature to ask a question. I'll generally loop back and try to grab some of those questions at the end for the Q&A portion. So we will start promptly at 12. So thank you everybody for being here. We should have the Jeopardy countdown timer, like do 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 do. That's a good show my age there. All right, we're about 1 minute out. So I'll repeat the housekeeping again. If you just joined us or if you're joining us now from YouTube, please like and subscribe and check out the other Q-PAC videos. We've got live installation videos there. We've got live webinars, some engaging content to include time lapse of demolitions and installations of the Q-PAC product in different locations. Some pretty good informative videos there. If you guys could check that out. And just a little housekeeping bit. We're going to start right at 12 o'clock. Please mute your mic. If you're on Zoom, you can use the raise hand feature. We'll have a Q&A portion at the end. Feel free to record this, but please mute your mic and turn your camera off for now. All right, I'm showing 12 o'clock. So without further ado, I'll go over this one last time. Going to be starting now. Please mute your mic. If you're on Zoom, raise your hand. You can ask questions in the chat there. I've got a team of people standing by to help us go over those questions at the end. All right, so welcome to the Q-PAC multimotor plenum fan architecture webinar. Most everybody knows why they're here, but for the people that are going to be watching this autonomously, this is going to be a architecture webinar put on by Q-PAC. All right, so a little bit about me. I'm James Montgomery. I'm a field marketing engineer, which is a mouthful at Q-PAC. Just means I'm an engineer that works in the business development side of the house now. Former career in engineering, master electrician, and I 28 plus years in the industry, everything from service to chief engineer to design and build projects. All right, fans, blowers. We all know them for the most part. If you're here watching this, you probably have a little bit of either interest or time spent working on different types of fans and blowers. And just thinking about fans and blowers, thinking about arrays here. Over the past decade, our team has worked on thousands of retrofit projects and new installations and new air handlers. And we think that the existing architectures solved many problems, but also have created some. And some of those new problems, we've set out to create a new category of fan to solve those problems. And then we've got a solution within that category that we're going to talk about here. So, all right. We feel those existing architectures still leave some of those challenges, from large complex scopes, heavy on the advanced trades for integration, long commissioning times, custom build, long lead times, and then different installation methods from installation to installation, whether that be in retrofit or in new air handlers. We're installing a lot of one-off projects and products, and those are hard to support in the future. So those become difficult to service, and based on complexity and access and availability, those can all be issues that cause problems. So when Q-PAC set out to design a better fan, we didn't think, how would we build another fan wall or fan array or any of those things? We'd done that for several years, and we thought that there were several things that we could do to really improve the existing category lines or subcategories of fans. So the first one being, how do we eliminate the installation complexity? How do we improve the ownership aspect? Blowers are simple. Single fan systems are simple. You've got a single device to integrate to, but there's a downside to that. They're single point of failures. And so along comes a fan array, and then you start to gain redundancy. But all that redundancy generally comes at a cost of complexity. So introduce our new category that we feel is important for this industry, for HVAC as a whole, specifically comfort cooling. We believe that the category itself, multimotor plenum fan, or MPF, should be and is a fan assembly combining multiple independent driven motors into a single device for commercial air handling applications. So an example of a device like the category MPF would be a power tool battery. This power tool battery easily interfaces with our tools. We've all probably got our favorite, from DeWalt to, you name it, what's there on the screen. But they all solve a pretty interesting problem. They interface with our tools, and they can be charged easily. And they're a single power source for these tools. But the truth is, they're comprised of multiple devices on the inside. But that's not always the most important thing to the end user. The end user is, I want a tool that runs. I want a device that performs, meets my specifications. In this case, keeps my tool running, but in the HVAC sense, keeps my space cool, or keeps my OR ventilated, or conducts air changes per whatever prescribed requirement there are. So about the MPF, things we're going to talk about here are pieces of the category that we feel are crucial. You cannot have a multi-motor plenum fan without having some of these things. And we'll talk about just really the advantages. Multiple motor, operating together with a simple speed input. That's pretty spot on. Power control monitoring condensed to a single point of operation for simple integration. Resilience. Multi-motor architecture ensures that airflow is maintained in the event of an individual component failure. So we'll swing back to that. And proven performance, measured as a specific configuration rather than extrapolated from single motors and brought together. Installation complexity. So we're going to talk a little bit about the different types that we compare this category to, and the amount of mechanical, electrical controls and construction work required for installation, commissioning, and service of the system. So on the left, we have single motor blowers and plenums. We're all familiar with these. Typically requires a VFD, may require rigging. They start to get large. Blowers can be large. These traditional AC motors, traditional fan systems, traditional blowers, we're talking craning them onto the roof. We're talking having to knock out walls, not easily transported. And then conventional fan arrays, they bring in multiple field wired motors, which there's the complexity. Requires proprietary control or a panel to monitor for coordination, and it may require field fabrication. That's a huge one too, in that every time you install the conventional fan array, you're actually just building a new system altogether. It's not the same every time. So presenting the multi-motor plenum fan as a category, we're going to really invoke single fan with one power and controls. Remember that battery we just looked at? We talked about how that's a single battery, but it's comprised of multiple smaller batteries. This multi-motor plenum fan integrates motor coordination within the fan, connects to any third-party control or BMS system, and it minimizes field assembly effort. Resilience, a word that we're not all super familiar with or that we don't use in HVAC. What is resilience? We liken it to redundancy, but redundancy requires or implies duplicate, and duplicate sometimes and most often implies superfluous or more than we need. So single blowers and plenums, yes, you can have a second blower combining into a common duct or something along those natures. But then what you have is you have more than you need. Fan arrays, very similar. Airflow is maintained after a single fan failure through a shared motor load. That's important. That's where you start to have an advantage over the blower. And then the multi-motor plenum fan, airflow maintained after a single load, just like a conventional fan array, but motor speed increases to restore lost airflow, and the device acts as a single component in all these other places that we were talking about to maintain airflow. And so resilience is really something we're going to talk about in this presentation. Serviceability. How hard is a traditional blower and plenum to service? For those of you involved in this industry, you've probably come across replacing blowers, replacing belts, shims, repairing, replacing different equipment life cycles. Blowers tend to be large and heavy and difficult to work with. They require a lot of specialized labor. And in today's world, there's not always a shaft machining place or a motor rewinding place just around the corner like there used to be. And so when blowers and plenums were and have been around for years, those were readily available, but we're seeing those trades like that not as available as they used to be. So then comes the conventional fan array, and there's some benefits, but also there's a difficulty. So on a traditional fan array, a fan replacement, it may require some disassembly. You may have to take something apart completely, may require some additional field wiring, addressing, programming, or rebalancing. But in comes the multi-motor plenum fan, a knockdown option, simplifies the retrofit, and then the motors are all interchangeable. They're replaced and they're integrated through motor connection points that are integrated to the system. Control and modulation, a lot of the same story here. The method in which used to regulate and integrate the fan into the building's HVAC system. Typical AC motors use a VFD with simple inputs. We're familiar with a lot of those power, speed inputs. For the VFD, it's going to be controlling the frequency. Conventional fan arrays, sometimes those would use the newer EC motors, or sometimes they involve multiple VFDs with AC motors provided by others. And sometimes those multiple AC motors can be direct coupled, and they're still a little bit difficult to work with. We're talking about larger cube systems that are difficult to replace in the event of a failure. And then the Q-PAC multi-motor plenum fan. Native speed capabilities with our EC motors, single 0 to 10 input relay, and complete interchangeability with our motors. All right, so now let's talk about how Q-PAC solves, or at least has created the product to service the category that is solving the problems that we were just talking about. So this is how we build our MPF. We got a cool graphic here on the right. So what we're looking at here in the eyes of Q-PAC is this is a single fan. Yes, it's comprised of multiple plug fans, wiring interface, controls, and things of that nature. But this acts as a single device, and it can be larger than this, and it's expandable. You can add multiple into an Airstream. It can shrink down as small as a third of that size or grow several times over. Built to order. Q-PAC owns, as the manufacturer, the majority of the engineering and the design. We own the integration of the pressure wall. So that frame, you give us your interior dimensions, and that frame, for lack of a better word, eliminates the need for a bulkhead or field fabrication for a wall. User-centric design, plug termination harnesses, push mount connections, pre-engineered mounting features, such as our bulkhead ledge. Those specific plug fans are being held on there with a ledge that holds the weight of them, making it easy for a service technician to change one of these out in just a few minutes. And then standard communication speaks to all systems, Magnet over IP, Modbus, MSTP, all of those things. All right, so let's break down the components of the Q-PAC fan. Starting from the left, we've got the motorized impellers. Q-PAC uses several different EC plug fans or motorized impellers, and those are going to be specific to the operating point of the system. But they're all going to be uniform in the sense that they're all going to integrate the exact same way and be interchangeable. Different size plug fans and different size fan blades for different applications depending upon operating points. The next thing is the fan controller. So this is inside the Airstream. This is our downstream electrical controls and pressure monitoring. There's the frame and frame harnesses. And then on the right, we'll show the perimeter angles, and I'll go into these a little bit further. So the frame, kind of mentioned this already, but it's tailored to fit the dimensions of the inside of your air handler. That being that if you give us the internal dimensions of your air handler, we will fill that to a certain extent so you don't have to do field fabrication inside the air handler. Obviously, there's some applications where maybe too large, and so we have to draw the line somewhere. So up to 150 inches wide and 140 inches tall per individual appliance or fan, as we're calling this. These can be combined together, whether that be stacked with some form of a coupling or rigid mounting or set beside each other in the same Airstream. It's really modular. It can grow as large as or small as we need it to. It's designed for fast assembly. Each one of these pieces, I don't know if you guys can see it on your screen, but they go together like Lego. They go from left to right. You put these in, all the holes are pre-drilled. All of the bolts are riv nutted into the back. So you're talking about sliding this thing into place and zipping it into sheet metal. Those riv nuts. I talked a little about the ledge. You can kind of see the ledge there. It's a horizontal line below each square where it'll hold the individual plug fan. It's designed to hold the weight. The motor harnessing is there for quick installation and replacement. The frame harnesses. So these are prefabricated by us. These are SKUs. These have part numbers. We can make these. If there's ever an issue with one of these, the system's not down fully, and a replacement part can be sent out. Spares can be kept on hand. And these are all prefabricated with very simple plug terminations. Designed for fast mounting and pre-punched. And so the cleanliness that you see, the uniformity that you see on this frame with these harnesses, that's achieved by us with our pre-punched holes and our pre-built links and sleeves. These things are going to look clean in the Airstream, and they're going to be easy to maintain for the life of the system. These include the power cable, the control cable, and then there's pressure tubing for UL VW1 compliant harnessing. The fans. All right, so the plug fans consist of a motorized impeller, inlet cone, and motor suspension. So we're thinking of this as an entire device or component. If someone were to say, hey, I have a belt issue or a blade issue or an individual issue with an individual plug fan, these are fully replaceable, removed from the wall. You wouldn't have to disassemble this on site. It includes pre-wired motor harnesses and simple connection points, no field addressing. And we were talking about this before, but no location specific placement of these plug fans. And then the harnesses are already created perfect for the length, and so you can replace this thing. Standard models for these include 208, 480 volt, and we've got 475 coming in August. I believe that press release is coming soon for the Canadian or Northern America variants where 575 is something that they're interested in. We'll have that coming out in August. But the majority of our systems are 480 volt three phase or 208 three phase. All right, the fan controller, I talked a little bit about this, but single point and connection for power and control. Supports analog connections, Modbus, BACnet, supports up to 9 motors. And again, we can add multiple of these inside an Airstream if you need to achieve more than a 9 motor. That cap being 95 amps. And that's so we can have standard sizing for conduit knockouts from top and bottom. So 1/2 inch, 3/4, and 1 inch. When you start growing larger than 95 amps, you're starting to look at a lot larger cabling and conduit. And so that's why we cap it here, and then it's expandable. All right, this is how it ships. The Q-PAC Fan knockdown kit. In the back there, we can see it fully assembled. But here in the front, we can see this comes palletized. So we're talking pallets holding plug fans, pallets holding the control panel, and then the pallets holding the frame panels. And you can see I was talking about how they come apart and then how they come together. Those are shipped like this, so every single component can be hand carried. We index toward hand carried components because we know access is difficult in retrofit solutions. Space is at a premium, and so that's why we do this. But inside, you're going to find everything that is needed from the hardware box with the fasteners, cable ties, installation documents. We even include a blank off plate. If there ever is a plug fan failure, it can be removed and the blank off plate can be installed. And then the control panel, which is optional. So Q-PAC at a glance. Where does Q-PAC fit into your standard day-to-day fans and blowers? We're looking at ranges from 4,000 CFM to about 90,000 CFM per MPF. So 4,000 being on the low end, and then 90,000 CFM being on the high end, but multiple can be connected together. And then notice it says up to 180K CFM for 2 fans. And then if the application requires a third or a fourth, I mean, really the infrastructure, limits how much you can get in there. But if you've got 500,000 CFM, that can be done. It will just require more than a couple of the MPFs. Back to the requirements. So static pressure, we typically look at areas above 1 inch in the water column for total static. And our top end, which is a cap, is 9 inches in the water column. And so 9 inches is pretty high for comfort cooling. We're pretty proud of that. You'll find that a lot of other solutions can't get up to that 9 inches in the water column. We can. Also, we find that there are some occasions where we can look at your application, but we find that the 1 to 9 is really the best place for us to land. We're looking at the scalability of the fan width and the fan height. And so applications for the width as low as 28 inches and for the height as low as 25. And then for the top end of those, remember these things can be placed together in different uniformity or different variations of how to put these things together. But the typical fan max is 150 by 140. All right, so where is the Q-PAC applied? I mean, this may seem pretty obvious, but we'll talk a little bit about this. Comfort cooling is probably the majority of the applications where Q-PAC is involved. So that involves commercial buildings, offices, retail environments, hotels, restaurants, and convention centers. A lot of healthcare. So if you're in a specific area that has specific healthcare requirements and inspections to pass, the Q-PAC system does well in those areas. Florida has ACA. Other areas have different types of seismic requirements and stuff like that, and Q-PAC does well in those areas. Education, so schools, both K through 12, private colleges, universities, campus buildings, and even light industrial facilities. Transportation, public access, we do well in those areas, and entertainment and assembly areas. So let's talk about what Q-PAC is not, and this will kind of give us an idea. So we're not designed for corrosive or explosive environments. We're not typically used in heavy industrial facilities if something outside of comfort cool is needed. And if it's high temperature applications, our limits are 140 degrees Fahrenheit or 40 degrees Celsius. And aside from the typical moisture in a comfort cooling airstream, are not typically designed for super high moisture or extremely wet environments, such as cooling towers. Examples: high temperature fans, process material handling fans, corrosion resistance or chemical duty fans, explosion proof or hazardous location fans, sanitary washed out fans, or ultra low or ultra high flow fans. Configuring the fan. So how do you size a Q-PAC? How do you decide whether your project makes sense for the Q-PAC? And what are the things that are needed to arrive at some kind of solution with Q-PAC? The best things we can start with are these 5 measurements. So air handler dimensions, that's internal height and width or cross section of where the fan would be installed. The performance, so CFM and total static of your existing system or the scheduled system. Power supply, we need to know what is the input power, where's the controller location, and that it involves whether the connections are on the left or the right of the unit, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But optional accessories, is a fuse disconnect needed? Is an external control panel needed? What are the existing controls look like? What does the operator need? What does the building owner need based on their current controls configuration? All right, so selecting, back to the dimensions. So Q-PAC typically offers a perimeter angle, but we can also sell our system without it. And so there's 2 measurements here, but the biggest thing to wrap your head around is inside of a typical airstream, you may need a perimeter angle from us. And if you're going to use our perimeter angle, we expect you to measure wall to wall, floor to ceiling, internal dimensions, and don't add any offset. So, and then our fan dimensions account for a 1/2 inch installation clearance. Now, if you aren't going to use our flange or our perimeter angle, then you're going to need some type of flange or space to mount this thing. And if you need have any specific questions about that, but specifically 5/8 of an inch to 1 1/4 inch flange, and then you want to add 2 inches flange to flange measurements, so this system will fit appropriately. All right, controller location. I talked a little bit about this. So if we're looking down on these fans, or even if they were upblast or downblast, if the air is hitting you in the face and your power and controls come in on the left, then we would consider that a left controller. Same with the right. If the air is hitting you in the face and it's on the right, then it's the right. I know that seems pretty self-explanatory, except for there are a lot of manufacturers that have selection tools that potentially do that differently, and this is how our selection tool does that. All right, system accessories and control panels, external panels. These are not required. Q-PAC system does have that integrated fan controller inside the airstream, so an external box is not required. But if things like fuse disconnect and 0 to 10 analog speed controls, we offer a handoff auto switch for local control with a potentiometer. If those things are needed, can support up to 4 of the MPFs, then you're looking at some type of control package. We've got a premium package and a basic. Premium having all the bells and whistles, individual fan alarms, and all the backnet capabilities, and then maybe something more basic where they just need to have the fuse disconnect, the handoff auto switch, and an external panel. And then that can go even further. Maybe someone just needs the fuse disconnect, and these are just Schneider VisiPack fused safety switches that we purchase, and then we would include with your purchase. All right, controls options. There's a lot. Specifically, we've got a panel system and a non-panel system. Within the panel system, we got the basic and the premium. And you can see a lot of these features on our website. If you're curious what some of these specific things are, if you have questions about this, I'll kind of just breeze past this. But it's worth understanding that you can get the system without a control panel, with just a fuse disconnect, or if you do need the panel, the external panel, then Q-PAC has a couple of options. All right, fan configurator. If you guys have a few minutes, please go to our website. When you go to q-pac.com, the first thing you're going to see is configure your fan. It's right on the main screen. And you literally can put in those measurements that we were talking about. and you can see at a glance an estimated price, an MSRP or list price, and you can configure your fan. Performance requirements, air handler dimensions, select your operating voltage and controller location, and then select your optional control package if you need one or none at all. And then you can get instant pricing and system documents right on our website. When you hit download the submittal documents, it's literally a submittal level set of documents that you can use either to specify. If you need more information, we can give you that. And we've got different guides and documents to help you with that. But this is a really interesting tool because it's a really great starting place for anybody that says, I have a fan. I'm just curious, how much does this potentially cost? Or can it be done what I'm thinking? Go in there, put in your measurements, and you can submit directly there on the screen. For more advanced users, people that typically are either OEMs, they're resellers, or they do larger volumes and become channel partners with us, we have our selection tool that you have to log into, and there's the website there. But on this system, it's more advanced than the web configurator. You can see a ton of possible configurations for a single system. You've got filter configurations by price, efficiency, maximum overcurrent protection, and resilience. We talked about this resilience figure. You can manage multiple systems and selections per project, and then you can submit custom requests for minor design adjustments. That can all be done. So this is the more advanced tool, whereas the web configurator would be a good starting place if you're not doing this all the time. All right, project and order documents. So in working with Q-PAC from the Quips tool, you're going to receive printable self-service submittals and quotes, rated operating performance, pressure, power curves, sound power levels, fan and component dimensions and weights. You can also pull up drawings, DXF, 2D DXF drawings can be pulled up there, 3D drawings, assembly guides, and a whole plethora of our support product manuals can be found here at this site. All right, guys. Thanks everybody for joining us. I think I probably talked too fast, but I'd like to see if there are any questions from the group. All right. Now's the time, I think, that you come off mute and you ask questions, or you can type it in the chat. If there's anyone that does have a question, if you're viewing autonomously from YouTube and you got a question, you can go to our website and ask us there, or you can reach out to us. You can go to our site, q-pac.com. And then there's different ways to contact us through the website, through our phone numbers, and online. All right, give people just a couple of minutes. There's not going to be any questions, or if you've got one to ask later, you can do that too. All right, it's 12:30. Since we don't have any questions at this time, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you for attending the Q-PAC multimotor plenum fan webinar. And we look forward to hearing from you guys in the future. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Check out some of our other content.